Record. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session, masterclass session. And as part of today's session, we will be talking about the importance of data analytics, right? And how storytelling can actually help decision making very easy. There are different types of analytics that we actually perform, and we'll also try and understand the differences between them. And what are the industry terminologies with respect to these different roles and responsibilities also is something that we will try and understand. I'll also give you some kind of a overlook, quick view on what kind of dashboards or what kind of visualizations can be created using business intelligence tools. As part of the discussion today, we will be talking about Power BI and Tableau, of course. These are the most happening tools in the space of analytics and BI, business intelligence. So I will be talking about these two. I'll be showcasing you visualizations that are being done by various other people. And you'll see that it's really fascinating to actually look at those visualizations. Data analytics, right? That's the topic. And we are currently living in digital world. Everywhere you see, people are speaking about data. Right? We are transforming ourselves into data, right? I mean, whatever we do individually, that is becoming a data point. So it's a data technology wave that we are actually experiencing right now. But what exactly is analytics doing here? And what does analytics mean? So we'll try and understand the churning of the data, how we can use the data to tell stories, and in fact, not just tell the stories, but also understand the business in a better way. And that would actually help us to take better decisions. And as part of today's agenda, we will try and look into the data world, what are various areas data is getting generated and all that. This is something that you people already are aware of. I will also try and talk about a couple of the use cases, not maybe couple, maybe more. We will try and see how analytics are actually helping the businesses by looking into use cases. We will also try and understand the differences between the terminologies and the roles and responsibilities as well. What exactly is the data analytics in this entire data world, right? This is different terminologies that we have. Where does data analytics fit in these keywords that we're talking about? And what are the various tools that are predominantly used in the industry? We'll try to understand that also. And then as I talked about, I will be showcasing some visualizations which are probably trending. Right? So these are some of the things that we will be covering as part of today's masterclass. This is what is happening in the world with respect to your time of 1 minute. Right? In just 60 seconds, so much of data is getting generated. Right? This is for the last year's stats. You can also try and see this visualization for every year. This is done by a marketing company called L'Oreal. And you can probably look into their Twitter page and you'll be seeing these kind of visualizations. In just 60 seconds, look at the number of messages that are conveyed in WhatsApp. Right? That's not WhatsApp. In fact, that's your text messages. WhatsApp is here. It's even more. Right? Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp together, we have 69 million messages sent. That's humongous, isn't it? Number of hours of videos, right, that gets uploaded into YouTube. That means in 1 minute, you will see that 500 hours of new content is getting uploaded into the YouTube platform. 60 seconds. Now, so much of data, right? You imagine what happens in 8 hours a day, working hours, 8 working hours a day. Now, if you talk about 24 hours, how much data is getting stored here, right? We cannot probably go through all the videos. It's not humanly possible. So there's humongous amount of data that is getting generated. And in fact, humankind should be a little thankful, though I mean, I should not be putting these words like that, but COVID actually enforced us to become digital, isn't it? Indirectly, COVID has forced us to convert ourselves onto digital platforms. People started working remotely, right? Organizations like manufacturing sector, where a person is expected, a human is expected in the physical premises, right? Those sectors also now seeing a lot of improvement in the online working mode, right? Remote working. Education and health services. Now we are taking the session online. Now, probably it's a professional content. So, I mean, professional training. So we understand the tools and all that, and we understand that probably working professionals may not travel. It's not possible for them at this hour and all that. So we are doing the session online. But for kids, school kids, the sessions happened online. My son, he has completed one entire academic year online, right? So, I mean, you cannot even, you would not have even imagined in your wildest dreams that this is something that is going to happen. Now, everything that is happening online, right, is actually generating data points. The events are digitally getting recorded. Now, from this data, we will be able to extract a lot of information, right? So in order to process this humongous amount of data, of course, we also need infrastructure, and today's world, that's not at all an issue, right? We have a lot of data that is available for actually playing around with. So let me talk about the slide. As I said, we are looking at a huge amount of data that is getting generated. You can talk about market. It could be either share market, or it could be a grocery market. It could be e-commerce. In fact, data is getting generated there in digital form. Internet of Things. We are controlling devices over internet, thanks to the data, thanks to the machines, which are right now connected with sensors, embedded with sensors. They are also starting to communicate. Smart cities, grocery store, space on over Mars. We have space rover, right? Mars rover that is also generating data. Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, life sciences, healthcare, whatnot. So everything that we are looking at is a data point that we are generating. Now it is you and me, isn't it? Now businesses take the advantage of this data, right? It is direct data from the transactions that the customers are doing. And to understand the customers, we'll also look at the indirect data that is on social media platforms and other activities that the customers are doing. This will actually help the businesses to understand the customers in a better way. And if you understand the customers, your services would also be appropriate, right? They will appreciate the services that we are going to provide to them. Now, all these things that you're talking about, yeah, this digital data that we're generating, but in what all domains? I come from a non-IT background. I come from a different domains, right? This is probably you have asked this question before you actually started exploring these various data related technologies. But by now you should have realized that data is everywhere. Irrespective of what industry, what domain you're working on, data is there, right? Without digital data, we cannot do anything. So implementing analytics in that specific domain will actually allow the businesses to understand the scenarios better. And if you are an experienced person working in a specific domain, then the advantage that you will have is you will be able to understand the data better, and the business is anyway something that you understand. The domain is something that you understand, right? You will be able to map the data and businesses in a much better way, and you will be able to derive the insights in much more convenient and better way. Right? So your domain experience is going to be the crucial element here. Now, these are some of the examples, again, very old examples, but yeah, this makes sense. If you talk about Vodafone, it's a telecommunication company. Now, this telecommunication company is generating around 4 TB. CDR is nothing but customer data record every day. Now, when you make calls, when you send messages, when you communicate over telephone or mobile, that is nothing but a data point, right? So customer data record. So much of data is getting generated from one telecommunication company. Now, what can they do from this data? These are some of the use cases. Use this data to understand in which area there is good network, in which area the network quality is not so good. Right? If you understand this information, then probably from a service perspective, you might want to install an antenna in that area where there is not so good network. That would probably improve the overall service quality that the customers are experiencing. Customer churn rate. Right? Customers are moving away from one connection to another connection. Right? Probably I'll move from Maxi to another network. Then the first telecommunication company from which the customers are moving away is a loss, right? It becomes a loss to that company. They're losing the revenue. So as a service provider, you need to ensure that your customers don't leave you. Now, what are the factors which are causing the customers to move? Is it the data plan? Is it the network quality? Is it some other issues that the customers are facing? You need to understand the factors, and that can be done by looking into the data. And if you are able to address the customer's concerns, then why would customers leave? If you're giving good quality service at reasonable price, then why would any customers leave you? But how are you going to identify what are those concerns that customers have? Yeah, you need to first get to that. Again, data becomes crucial here. Without data, you'll not be able to understand that. What is more popular among customers? Which service or which product? In which areas, what plan is better for a telecommunication company? Is also something it's going to help them to plan some kind of offers or any strategy that you talk about. Right? Data-driven decisions can be taken better. Similarly, if you talk about GE, here also they have various use cases. They are into energy and oil and gas specifically. So optimizing delivery routes. Geospatial analytics can be implemented here. Network analytics can be used and identify what is the best route to deliver a specific raw product to the processing unit. They do that kind of analytics here. For example, your Grab. When you book a Grab to travel from one location to another location, there may be multiple routes, right? I mean, different routes could be there. Grab is going to choose one such option, which is, what do you think? What is the best route? that Grab is going to capture or identify. If you have to travel from point A to point B, what would be the objective for Grab? Shortest route? Is it the shortest path? Or is it the shortest timestamp? Which one is more appropriate for customer? If you want to travel, imagine, put yourself into the scenario. You want to travel from point A to point B, right? So do you want to sit in the cab, spend time, let's say for 30 minutes, while the cab is taking the shortest route? Or you are okay to travel additional kilometers, but reach the destination in 20 minutes? Which is better? 30 minutes or 20 minutes? The fastest one is better, right? This one would probably be better for the cab, the person who's driving the vehicle. Whereas this route is better for the customer. And Uber as a service, we need to focus on customers. So this is the best route. This is analytics for us, right? And when you analyze these things, the solutions can be more appropriate for the customers, right? And they will be obviously happy. Of course, you need to have competition. If it is a monopoly, obviously there is no other option. You, as a customer, you'll have to go for that. Similarly, if you talk about Ford, right? They have 4 to 5 million vehicles data. Now, real-time data capture is also happening, friends. How you drive, how many times you're applying brakes, at what acceleration you're driving. Are you changing lanes frequently, right? Are you applying brakes frequently? This information is being live tracked thanks to the onboard devices. There are sensors which are fitted in the vehicles nowadays. Advanced vehicles, they have all the automated, right, sensors coming into picture. They capture the data. Now, this data is owned by who? Manufacturers. But it is the second revenue generating opportunity for the manufacturers if they capture this data, because this data can be sent to insurers, right? Insurance companies. They would die to get this information, isn't it? Because that information can help the insurance companies to adjust the premium for the customers. If you are a risky driver, that means you're changing the lanes too much, you're accelerating too high, you're applying brakes too many times. So if you, these are the kind of behavior that you possess, then insurance company can say that, hey, you're a risky driver, and hence your next premium is increased by 5% or 10% or whatever that is based on the risk factor. And if you're a safe driver, your next premium can come down. You might be given additional discounts. Now, this is going to attract a lot of customers, isn't it? It's a value to the money that the customer is paying. And the brand value for the insurance company is also going to improve. Now, this is the data which is coming from an automobile manufacturer. This is just one example I'm giving. What are the key component issues? Isn't it? I don't remember, but I think Ford or some other company has this windshield issue, right? That was a major setback for that organization. They had to recall all the vehicles that were delivered to the customers to change that particular component. So if you can capture this information, then obviously you are going to ensure that the issues are addressed well in advance. So these are some of the use cases, friends. We're talking about data helping to come up with solutions. Now, a simple solution here. I mean, this is a classical example. Imagine that you are a data architect or a owner of a grocery store, and you're basically generating a lot of this data. This data can tell you a lot of information, isn't it? Right? You'll be able to track the sales, products, inventory can be managed. Who are the repeat customers you'll be able to capture? Then how you can maximize your profit, which offer is going to work, which offer is not going to work, is something that you'll be able to estimate upfront and then take the decision appropriately. But as and how the business is growing, the amount of data that you are going to get will increase, and that is going to directly influence the scope of analytics that we are trying to do. More data means more opportunity to extract information and better design, right, of strategies, better design of your strategies. So these are all different things that you will be doing if you are a owner of a grocery store, simple grocery store, and as and how your business improves, you're going to bring in all these additional features into the business. Now, if I talk about the terminologies, again, this terminology is something that you probably are already aware of. AI is an end result. Right? This is an end result, like your driverless cars. But that driverless cars idea was triggered by doing some research by data scientists who try to examine the data and understand what are the problems, and also identify solutions to those problems from the data itself. Right? Data scientists are basically the people who are researching on the data. How do they research? They use this quantified techniques called data mining, which is used for churning of the data. And this data mining can be broadly categorized into machine learning and deep learning aspects. Deep learning, of course, is a branch of machine learning, a subset of machine learning. Whereas machine learning speaks about y is equals to f of x. So we are trying to derive relationship between the outcome, right, and the input variables that are causing that outcome. Right? So that is the relationship that we need to derive. And this is where you're going to basically learn the algorithms, right? To identify what is this mathematical function which can explain the relationship between input or inputs and output. And to do that, we use certain algorithms, friends, isn't it? So this is broad differentiation or broad difference on these keywords. But what exactly is data analytics mean, and where does this data analytics fit in? So if I have to talk about data analytics, which is a branch of your data science, you can say, but the primary purpose of doing data analysis or the process is basically to explore the data. This is to summarize. So we are using descriptive and predictive findings. These findings are going to help the decision makers to come up with better decisions, informed decisions. So from a textbookish perspective, you can say data analytics is a process. It's a process of exploring and analyzing data to derive insights. And to do that, we use some quantified techniques, descriptive and predictive findings. And this insights should help data-driven decision making for the management. And it can be explained as the process of data collection, data cleaning, data transformations, right? And data serving, graphical representation. That's very, very important for analytics, because that's where you will be able to extract the meaning in much better way. And when we speak about analytics, the analytics is broadly categorized into these 4 stages, and data analysts are going to work here. The data analysts are basically responsible for getting the data, summarizing the data. That means we will tell on what has happened till now, or what is happening. What happened. But along with this, data analyst roles also include on trying to identify the reasons. We also call it as root cause analysis. Now, if you see that there is a certain task, and if you see a result of that task, then you need to ask why the result is like that. What is causing that result? For example, if you're going to talk about product sales, maybe there are 4 products and these are the sales. Then when you observe the sales data, you need to immediately question on why the sales is so high and why this sales is so less. What are the reasons, right? So that is part of your diagnostic analysis. And this reasoning, of course, requires a little bit of domain knowledge as well. Post that, we have predictive analytics. This is where your machine learning comes into the picture, right? Data scientists or machine learning engineers come into the picture here. And then decision makers, or people who are going to help the decision makers to take appropriate decision. Consultants, they basically right, are advisors on what needs to be done and all that from a business perspective. Here we do prescriptive analytics. That means you are going to give solutions. Right? The business experts, they come into the picture. These are the 4 stages of analytics, isn't it? Now, as I said, we need to focus on this area. This is the first stage. Whenever you get data, right, the data will be in its raw format, which is getting generated by different sources in different formats. But ultimately, that raw data will have some information in it. So we need to refine it, transform it, and ensure that we get the data in an appropriate format. Right? And once we get that raw data converted to an appropriate format, then we try to generate reports from that. And these reports can be represented in numbers or visualizations. And when you deep dive onto these reports, you will also be finding out what are the cause for that effect, the reasons. We'll try and understand this using a small, again, example. But before that, what are the various tools that can be used for data analytics? Now, I'm assuming that all of you are familiar with Python programming. Maybe you have completed your data science classes, or you have learned data science, or you have focusing on Python programming. This becomes very important language in today's world, a programming language in today's world, which is kind of a mandatory for us to learn. And this is considered to be the best tool to process the data, right? Python programming. It's open source. and it's free. Its dynamic programming nature will allow us to write programs in much easier and convenient way, functional oriented. You can write the logic and then use that logic again and again and again. And English-like language. This is going to allow us to read, write, and maintain the language very easy, the code very easy. Now, this is also used as analytics, data analytics too. But we also have dedicated tools which can be used for performing analytics. Some of the tools are, or I should say Microsoft Excel is the one of the oldest tool that is available for performing analytics. Microsoft Excel. And Excel has VBA, macros, right? So a lot of benefits are there. Excel seems to be very easy. Excel seems to be very, very naive tool. But yeah, its capabilities are immense. I'm pretty sure nobody is actually as good as, I should say, I mean, none of the tool you can talk about is as good as Excel for your preliminary analysis. Of course, it has, Microsoft Excel has its own challenges with respect to looking into advanced analytics or predictive analytics and all that. But from preliminary analysis perspective, Microsoft Excel is considered to be one of the best tools. Then database, SQL programming or NoSQL programming, these standards. These standards are also the go-to options when you are trying to retrieve the information from the data. And these are especially, these softwares that we are talking about, they're used when your data is stored in a specific software called database softwares. And these database softwares are traditional softwares, right? They're traditional. And these softwares basically are used to store and archive and retrieve the information. You can write queries to get the information from this data set as well. And in order to communicate and get that required information, we will use SQL as a programming standard. Right, so that's the one of the oldest tools that you can talk about are these two, Microsoft Excel and SQL. Then we have Power BI. This is given by Microsoft. And then we also have Tableau. All right. These two tools are, I should say, the best tools in business intelligence world. Right? Now let us try and understand what is business intelligence and try to understand what are the various capabilities of these tools. There are many other tools like ClickView, Cognos, right, Zoho. A lot of tools are there. But these are some of the tools which are considered to be the go-to tools in the industry. Power BI is something which is from Microsoft, and this is the trending software now. All right. I'm not specifically talking about any one tool. I'll try to be very generic in nature, but you might want to look into one tool and the other tools are very similar. Now coming to the Excel. When you use Excel, the Excel can be used for doing basic transactions. like entering text, editing text, or updating formulas and all that. Working with basic functions which are already preloaded in Excel. You will be able to do formatting of the data also. We will also have basic visualizations that can be performed in Excel. Right? And as we talked about, Excel functions are already there. Right? So these are some of the basic things that we keep doing in Excel, Microsoft Excel as our day-to-day activities. Now, if I move to intermediate level, we will be working with lists, list functions, data validation things, pivot table creations to summarize the data. Then we can also write some conditional functions. This is a little advanced with respect to the basics, of course, right? And these are pretty, again, regular users will get experienced with all these kind of features on the Microsoft Excel, and it's very easy. It's not that difficult when we talk about Excel. Now, if I talk about various other, these are also other options that you see. Text-based functions can also be done. Lookup functions can be done. What if analysis can also be done using Microsoft Excel. Now, if we talk about advanced Excel capabilities, then VBA, right? Visual Basic Analytics that we talk about. VBA concepts, variables and operators, then automate Excel formulas. We generally do that. And working with the VBA forms. These are some of the advanced features of Excel. This is with respect to Excel. Now, as you can see, there are so many capabilities that you have in Excel. Now, let us try and understand one more use case and see how it can be solved and what are the various things that we can perform. As an example, if you see, we have an organization. Before COVID, it was doing very good. Okay, 2017, 2000, right? Probably 18 also, but yeah, from an example discussion perspective, the organization is really doing good in 2017. It has made a profit. But in 2018, the following year, the organization, the company went into losses. Right? So that is serious concern to the management. So there was a heavy discussion, detailed discussion with the entire team. And we wanted to understand what went wrong and where did it went all wrong. Now, in order to know that, we needed to look into the data, right? Past data. Now, there are three important roles that you can see here. Again, just animation, just to create some characters here. We have a business consultant. We have the management, the head of the business unit. And we also have analysts. Now, we will be focusing on Ron. Now, if you look into this scenario, the data has to be experimented, right? The data has to be explored. Now, this is the job of analyst, where the analyst is going to collect the data from different sources and then refine it and present it in such a way that the business owners can take ready information from those presentations, right? And then probably they can come up with a plan. The challenge that you see here is the data is getting generated in different locations, right? In different forms. So the analyst here, which is Ron, has to actually get the data from all these locations, isn't it? Several different locations. How do you get the data which is generated in different locations? That's the first challenge Ron has. The another primary challenge that you look at is the format of the data. The data that is getting generated could be in different forms. right? Different formats. It could be image, it could be audio, it could be a flat file, it could be a database file, it could be the GIF file, right? Within the text documents, you will have different variations. So all these formats that you see is obviously going to create a lot of confusion on in what form the data should be collected. So we needed a technique that will allow us to extract the data and work with the data to derive insights. Right? And also we have to archive all the data. So we will use data warehouse. Right? Now this kind of a task can be done using business intelligence tools. Okay, so Ron is also thinking about that. But what is business intelligence? Business intelligence basically is allowing the organizations to present the raw data in a much meaningful manner. Right? This will allow the management to become more cognizant of the conditions. So the decisions that they are making will be more appropriate. These are some of the self-service business intelligence tools, and Power BI is right at the top, you can see. Right, so this is basically the list of some of the tools that you can probably use for doing the data analytics. The stages of business intelligence, if you see, just like the 4 stages that we talked about in the analytics, under the business intelligence also you see 4 different stages. We need to first collect the data and transform it. Make it in an appropriate form which can be consumed. Then we have to try and discover the patterns and discrepancies. Now, what does this patterns and discrepancies means? Now, to understand this, I'll always draw this. This is a heartbeat ECG report, right? It's a heart rate, right? Now, if I show this report to the doctor, right, cardiologist, then they will immediately understand that, okay, this is a heart rate. And as a standard, a healthy heart should have 72 beats per minute. Right? That is standard. So analytics is speaking about identifying whether we have this information, right? Whether the beats that you're seeing here is actually giving you 72 or approximately 72 or not. All right. So that is the first one. But carefully, when the expert looks into this data, they probably will identify these kind of anomalies. Why there is a gap? Why the line is extending a little extra than what is expected? Right? So this is nothing but your discrepancies. We can also call it as variations. Pattern is this regular, right? Pattern. The expectation is so much. This is the pattern. But deviation from this pattern is something that you'll have to closely look into. Discrepancies. Now, once we have identified this, we will actually have to present those in a visualization form. Data visualizations are important. We need to put up the results so that the end users can also interpret the information that we are trying to share. Value to the data can be seen at this stage, data visualization stage. The true value, right, to the data can be appreciated here. Once this is done, of course, the decision makers come into the picture and they will try to take the decision on the business cases. If you talk about a flow of Power BI or any business intelligence, it starts with the raw data. Again, we are showcasing the raw data as an Excel file. It could be CSV, it could be a text file, it could be a PDF file, it could be a database. So ultimately, we are talking about source of data, and that source could be anything. Right? From that source, we want to generate these kind of reports. So we will try to do the processing. Using the tool, we will generate these kind of reports, and then these reports get published over a web page. From this web page, the reports can be further pushed into mobile. Right? Mobile compatibility, because the screen sizes and all those things vary. So this is the cycle or life cycle of a business intelligence. All right, so this is the flow with respect to data. It generates, right? The data is basically coming from these various sources, and the tool is generating the reports for us. And once the reports are generated, we will publish them. Now, if I showcase data, right? For example, if I showcase small amount of data, sales data, right? I have 5 products. Product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4, and product 5. Right? Now I'm talking about the sales like this. Products, and these are the sales. Product 1 has, let's say, 40 units of sale. Product 2 has, let's say, 20 units. Product 3 has 5 units. Right? Then let me take another color here. Yeah, so product 4 and product 5, let's say this has 10%, 10 unit sale, and we'll also have 25 unit sale for product 5. Right, so these are some of the numbers that you see. Now, would you appreciate this visualization, I mean this representation, or would you appreciate something on this graphical representations? So if I have to represent that, I will draw 40 line here. Then exactly half the P2 is there. Then again, we have 5 here. We have 10 here. And then a little here, 25. So when you look at this representation, obviously graphical representation is going to be more appropriate, right? And it allows us to understand the data a lot better, isn't it? It is always that famous saying which says, one picture speaks 1,000 words, isn't it? So based on that caption, we use business intelligence tools to generate, right, very interesting sample these reports. Right? So we basically try to generate the visualizations with respect to right, different business cases. Let me try and show something. Yeah. Yeah. This is from the Power BI website. Look at these sample visualizations that you see. These are some of the samples, and you can get the samples right directly from Power BI here. reports, different reports are there. You can also look into the data and all that. Now I'm trying to generate or look at retail analysis. These are all not fixed, guys. These are some kind of a dashboards which are generated on sample data, right? So you can see the total details, the total number of branches, stores, what is the overall sales that this year the organization has made, right? This year sales by different chains. There are 2 different chains, and you can see one chain has a lot of sales, right? So this way we will have different reports. We have geospatial data where we try to represent the data on maps. We are also talking about new stores that are right, available in the market. And right, different kind of reports that you can see. So these are bits and pieces that we are actually generating, fragments. We are generating these right, fragments of the fields, and then we are putting all of them into a single dashboard, right? And if you look at the single dashboard, it looks like a storyboard like this. All right. Now, if I also talk about COVID-19, you can see this tracking. So it, again, you can also try and get the data, friends, right? You need to have these as prerequisites. And we have USA data here. Confirmed cases, total deaths. And you can see very, very simple yet powerful visualizations are being shown here. Right? Look into these different reports, right? You can also try and analyze this. All you have to do is search for sample dashboards, and you will have these example dashboards that you can experiment on. This is sales and marketing if you want to look at, again, another different view of the visualization. All right. All right, so that's all I have to talk about with respect to dashboards and right, storyboards with respect to the powerful BI self-service BI tools. Now, all these things that we are seeing here, right, is more like a drag and drop option, friends. All right. You might want to experiment on using Power BI and generate these kind of reports so that the end user will basically take the information directly, because the end user, we never know, could be a person who is completely non-technical, right? A management, the CEO of an organization would probably want to understand certain kind of right, data. All right, any questions that you might have? Yeah, friends, any questions that you people have, you can post your questions here. What is the career path to be a data analyst? Okay, if you're talking about let's say if you talk about designations, right? You might probably start as associate data analyst. Now, as part of this role, you might look at data collection, right? Probably connecting data from or loading the data from different tools into the from different tools into the business intelligence tool like Power BI. So you basically try and connect and you try and get the data into the tool, and maybe you're doing some kind of data wrangling or data merging. Okay, then probably you will have a junior data analyst, then data analyst, probably senior data analyst. Senior data analyst is also a person who can come up with solutions or strategies, helping the management understand the reports and understand the business condition. And probably they will also allow people to, the management to take the appropriate decisions. Data analysts are the people who are probably going to do all the work, right? They will be doing data collection, they will be generating dashboards, they will be also trying to give these storyboards, right? All those things. So these are levels that you might want to look at. And at each level, of course, I'm not detailing in a very minute way, but at each level, you will have roles and responsibilities with respect to dealing with the data and data systems. If you're asking about data scientist and data analyst, then there is a difference. Data analyst will look into summarizing the data, generating reports and all that. Whereas data scientist on top of that can also do machine learning implementations and do predictive analytics as well. To be a data analyst, analysis, does it require? No, not required. In fact, I've shown you that data is generated in all the domains. Look at the examples here. We are talking about COVID case. This is probably from a government initiation, right? Real estate and all those things. Then you talk about customer profitability sample. So customer analytics, IT spend, finance and accounting, human resources, procurement, retail. So it is not confined to any IT domain. Data is right across all the industries. What is your recommended things to learn to start off data intelligence understanding? See, first thing is your domain. Okay, stick to domain, try to focus in that domain, because when you want to play with the data, when you want to extract information from the data, you need to understand the data first, right? From a business perspective, understanding of the data is required, and that comes when you understand the domain. So start reading about your domain first, enhancing your knowledge in that, and then try to look into the fields like your basics of Excel, basics of SQL, and then you jump into the business intelligence tools. All right. Currently, I'm using Salesforce as part of my reporting. Can I integrate? Yes, of course. Why not? Absolutely. You need to have the plugins, right? You probably will need to have a licensing software to understand how you can plug in these tools. And yes, absolutely. Why not? There should be readily available plugins to connect to Salesforce and right Power BI and generate your reports using Power BI. No, not required. Like we will be using the free term version, free tier version for learning things. Will not purchase any licenses. We don't suggest that at this stage. Purchasing license would be a little costlier affair, so yeah, not really required at this stage. Any other questions? Right. All right. So we will conclude the session for the day. Hope you have got the insights on what exactly is expected by a data analyst and how business intelligence tools can actually, self-service business intelligence tools can actually help generating a very good report, very, very attractive and very clear, concise report for the management to take decisions in a better way. All right. So with that, let me conclude the session. Hope you have enjoyed the session. See you all very soon. The links are provided. You might want to leave your feedback also. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your rest of the evening. Take care of yourself and goodbye. Thank you.